Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat and the recent new trailer for the up and coming live action adaptation of the classic beat 'em up game, which I can vividly remember way back in the early 1990s, going back when I first played the version on the Super Nintendo. But of course nowadays we all recognise the game most associated with the PlayStation, the most recent incarnation being the 11th version of the long running franchise. So as I said before, this is the latest live action adaptation. The movie's due for release on April the 16th this year, and I think it's the first major release since Wonder Woman 1984 from Warner Brothers that will go simultaneously on HBO Max and cinemas as well. So obviously we'll look at how that performs as well, even though it's a bit difficult to determine the streaming numbers and what they release nowadays, but it'll be interesting to see how well this performed. Now, I did look, before I go into the trailer, I did look at the recent posters that they showed for this movie online, and they had this kind of cool animated look, and some of them look really good actually. I think some of the characters are well rendered and adapted in terms of live action, so I thought the posters look quite good. So I think that's what got a lot of people very enthusiastic for this trailer. So when we looked into it, I think going into Mortal Kombat, I think, yeah, you just want it to be, I guess, full of good fights and spectacle and good action scenes and some semblance of a decent to strong story. I watched most recently the Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge animated movie, and that started off well, and then it just kind of descended more into just fighting all the time and just became a bit bland and generic. So hopefully there'll be a bit more substance to go along with the action. But we look at the trailer, and I think overall thoughts, it was a decent trailer. I think we can see that they've incorporated a lot of the classic elements that I think will please a lot of fans of the video game. We see a certain amount of special moves and fatalities, and obviously they've gone for a really hard violent adaptation here, but that's what you would expect from Mortal Kombat. I think it would have disappointed a lot of fans if we kind of got a very tame PG-13 rating that would have gone very well with the fan base. So I'm glad that they've gone kind of harder, and I think the overall story from what we see within the trailer is that there's a character called Cole Young, and I think it's played by Louis Yan. I don't really know the actor. I think maybe he's a famous Asian actor, but Cole Young, I suppose, has got some sort of lineage tying back to the early history. I think Sub-Zero is involved within his origin, and then he's got to go back to this ancient tournament, and we see other people getting involved as well. So how are they going to tie that into the actual tournament narrative will be the key thing, because I think previous adaptations, they've always tied it to one character and then other people have got involved as well. So it'll be interesting to see which characters they keep involved most in terms of the main narrative, but I think that's the basic plot or synopsis. So looking at the trailer, some characters looked very good and others didn't look as good. Like, for example, I thought both Scorpion and Sub-Zero looked awesome. I love all the effects. You know, we saw that opening shot here where we see Sub-Zero freezing Jax, who's being played by Mehcad Brooks, if you know him from the looks of Supergirl, and we see where Sub-Zero is freezing his arms and then he rips them off, and obviously that's tying into Jax's origin because that's how he gets his metal arms, is what we've seen from the games. But that was a cool look. But I think both Sub-Zero and Scorpion, they look superb, and to be honest, they're always going to look superb because they're very well designed in kind of their Ninja Gaiden style costume, so they're always going to look cool. And I love all the effects of both the ice and the fire surrounding those two characters. We of course got the classic Scorpion line come over here later on within the trailer as well. Did that work as well? I'm not sure. Wasn't quite as convinced on that moment. That's a very iconic moment of the franchise, but still it looked very cool as well. And I think they got the original actor who played the first Shang Tsung, or one of the, I think he might have been the actor from Westworld. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. Who we see in the early scenes here where he's fighting all these characters within the woods here, and that looked really cool. I think a lot of the fight choreography looks very well, and that's the key for this movie. The fight choreography has to be, well, not only spot on, I think it's got to be exceptional. So I think both Scorpion and Sub-Zero look good. Sonia Blade, she looks very good on here. I mean, it's not too much of a stretch as you just get a very attractive blonde actress to play the role, but she looked very good. I think Kung Lao design, he looked very cool on there. It looks very much like the Kung Lao we associate from the games. I thought Melina looked good as well. It's got this freaky mouth design look about her. Liu Kang looked alright. In some scenes he looked really good. You see some scenes here where he's using his fireball. I didn't really like the way they did that. It wasn't very similar to what I saw from the games, because in the games he kind of projects the energy, putting his fist forwards, and they kind of do this kind of more kind of Avatar effect where he's manipulating the flame. So I wasn't keen on that, but we did see him use the kind of dragon fatality, if you see on this shot here, and it's all engulfed in flames. And I guess they couldn't do the actual dragon fatality. That's the version I'm remembering anyway, going back from the computer games. But yeah, I think Liu Kang looked decent as well. But there were other characters that didn't fare so well. I don't like the Kano look. I don't know why. Just maybe I'm being too old-fashioned. I'm going back to the original games. But yeah, I just don't like the look of him. He's got this very kind of typical, I don't know, British Cockney, or was he Australian accent, it looks like here. But yeah, he just doesn't look very convincing. So yeah, I wasn't very cool on that design. And also the Raiden one, I'm not convinced on that either. Now, pretending on what interpretations you go by, I always like Raiden when he's this big kind of tall, very physical, like godlike character. They've scaled him down in size, and I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced by this Raiden. He doesn't look imposing. He doesn't look distinguishable or stand out. He doesn't have that godlike aura about him. He's got to have that real physical presence about him. And the Raiden, I just didn't like. I don't think it looks very good on here. One thing I noticed as well is that we don't have a Johnny Cage. For me, Johnny Cage was one of the most famous characters of the original version. I don't know if he's still in the PlayStation games anymore, because I don't follow the PlayStation games as much, even though I know what they are. But yeah, there was no Johnny Cage for some reason. I think the lead character in this is going to be Louis Yan's Cole Young. I don't know if that's an original character from the game or if that's a primary new character they've just created for this storyline. Anybody else educate me in the comments. But yeah, there was no Johnny Cage, which I find surprising. Another weak rendition, I think, was the Guru monster. If you remember, this was the main antagonist. I think it's from the first game. It might be the second game. Anyway, the first two games of Mortal Kombat, he was the main boss, one of the main bosses. And yeah, didn't work. It just didn't work. I don't like this rendering. It doesn't look finished. It doesn't look finished. I don't know. He doesn't look that freaky. He looks too small. Like I said, the effects don't look like they're complete. So maybe they've still got a bit of work to go on. It's not out till April, so maybe there's still more post-production or fine-tuning they've got to do with the effects. But yeah, the Guru didn't look very well. There was no Shao Kahn either, but obviously they don't want to show all of their surprises, I suppose, within this trailer. Shao Kahn, I believe, was the antagonist for the second game, Mortal Kombat 2, so there was no version of him as well either. So yeah, just some characters looked better than others did, and yeah, it just, I don't know, I think it was mixed feelings. Some parts, some scenes looked very good, but others just looked a bit schlocky and a bit, again, very video game-esque. And what I mean by that is, you want it to have a cinematic look, don't you? You want to have a real feel as if it's this massive, big budget cinematic production. So of course we're going to get all the fight scenes and the explosions. We expect that. That's to be, expected from this. But like I said, you just want a bit more of a cinematic flair and design to this, because I suppose everybody's going to be asking, will we ever break the video game curse? Can we finally get a video game live action adaptation that is very exceptional or very superb? I'm not sure we're going to get it from this, but maybe it might be just that fun, kind of empty-headed, high-octane action blockbuster that you could just watch, turn your brain off for 2 hours, and just kind of revel with all the carnage. And I think really that's what the fan base is looking for. I think overall they're not looking for anything too convoluted or complex in terms of the storyline, but I think overall they just want something that's very spectacular and action-packed. And yeah, also Mikael Brooks as well was Jax. Yeah, I wasn't convinced by his look either. I think he's almost too big. I mean, I don't understand why they couldn't get Michael J. White, unless he's played the character before. I know there's been some short films online. There was a couple of online movies of Mortal Kombat before, wasn't there? But yeah, I think Mikael Brooks, he's just too big. He's just too big. He doesn't look right with the metallic arms that we see on there before. I don't know. He just, again, maybe I'm just too connected to the original version of Mortal Kombat. It just doesn't resemble the look. I think they could have got, or they should have gone for a much more accurate look for Jax as well. But it depends on where you're coming from. But I think overall, as a trailer, I suppose it would have pleased fans of the original games or the recent games on there. For me, just a bit mixed. It's not terrible, it's not bad. There are some highlight moments. At least it's got this serious, sincere nature about it. Like, they are taking the subject matter seriously, of course, but yeah, there were just certain characters and certain scenes that didn't work quite well for me. So I think this is going to maybe end up just being a kind of high octane, Just very fun, just turn your brain off blockbuster you can sit there and enjoy for 2 hours. And I suppose if you're a fan of the game, there isn't much too wrong with that. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the Mortal Kombat trailer. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this will be superior to previous incarnations of live action versions of the film that we've seen in the past? Can this finally break the curse of the video game adaptation? Do you think it'll be a superb version, or do you think it will be another failure in the entry of the genre? I mean, I don't understand why we can't get an anime version of Mortal Kombat, to be honest. I mean, you think Mortal Kombat is ripe and just perfect for anime. I mean, if you check out on my channel, I'll review one of the best animes ever I've seen of the Street Fighter 2, the animated movie way back in 1984. That was incredible. When you think a Mortal Kombat anime done in that style with that production would be equally as awesome. So I don't know why they just don't do anime, but we'll see how this goes. But let me know what you think in the comments, and obviously when the movie comes out, I'll provide a review as well. So those are my thoughts on the Mortal Kombat trailer. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons and notifications to help me grow and produce more content for you in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.